Welcome to the first video in Section 5. This is Vehicle Detail Part 1. Back in Visual Studio Code, I need to add my folder for my new component. So I'll add a folder, and I'll call it Vehicle Detail. Inside of Vehicle Detail, I'll go ahead and add my index.js file. And inside of index.js, I'll go ahead and add the usual export default from /vehicle detail. Control S to save, and I'm done here, so let me go ahead and close this. This component is actually going to use some CSS, so why don't we add our CSS file? I'll call it vehicledetail.css. And since the CSS is fairly short, why don't we go ahead and put it in now? I'm going to add .detail image. This is going to be styling an image tag. And in my class, I'll add width, which is 100%, and height, which is also 100%. Control S to save, and that is truly the end of the CSS, so let me close this document as well. Now let's go ahead and make our class file. I'll right-click, new file, vehicledetail.js. Import React from React. Next, let's import our CSS. And finally, I know which React Strap components I'm going to be using for this particular component. There are two that we've seen before. I'll just import row and column from React Strap. And apparently I've misspelled import, so let me fix that. Next, I'll add my class. Vehicle detail extends React.component. I'll add a constructor. And since I already know what my state variables are going to be, I'll go ahead and type these in too. I'll type in this .state equals, and there's two of them. Vehicle data, which is going to be the actual data for the vehicle. In the home page, we pull a list of available vehicles. We're going to be passing in our selection on the parameter. So vehicle data is going to contain all of the information on the selected vehicle. For now, I'm going to default it to an empty object. The other state variable I'll use is selected vehicle. And this will store the key of the vehicle that we pick from the home page, whether it be from the vehicle browser or from the top nav bar. This is going to be a string, so let me just set this to an empty string for now. Next, let's make our render method. And there's two constants that I want to set up first. I'll type in const, selected vehicle, and I'm actually going to pull this off of the parameters on the URL. So I'll say this.props.match, which is part of, so I'll say this.props.match, which is part of React Router, and then I'll end with .params. So I'll have all of the parameters, but I'm destructuring that and I'm putting it into selected vehicle. Now that I have the key of what they've selected, I'll go ahead and use that to get the selected vehicle data. And for this, I'll use this.props.vehicle data. We're going to pass in all of the vehicle data that we got from our call in app.js. This.props.vehicle data.filter. And we're going to filter it based on the key that we just figured out there on line 12. So I'll say vehicle here for my argument name. I'll add my arrow, and I'm filtering based on vehicle.detail key, which is one of the fields in all of our vehicle objects that uniquely identifies it. So we're detecting whether or not vehicle.detail key equals, and I'll use triple equals here, selected vehicle, and since that turns out to be an array, I'll go ahead and point it to the first element in the array. I'll go ahead and fix my typo, and that looks pretty good. Now that I have the key, I can use that to get the data from the vehicle data that gets passed in on the route, just like we did in all of our other components that used the vehicle data. So we'll do const selected vehicle data, and we'll set that equal to this.props.vehicle data, giving us a clue that eventually we're going to have to go into app.js and add a route for this that passes that data into us as vehicle data. And then I'll add a filter to this. The filter function is just going to be vehicle, and then an arrow. And what we're doing is we're going through the vehicle data and we're looking for the one with the vehicle detail key. So vehicle.detail key equals is a triple equals selected vehicle, which we got up there on line 12. Now, since it's a filter operation, it's going to return an array, but that array is only going to have one thing in it. So I'm going to add a 0 here in square braces so that I make sure that I get the value that I'm after. Next, I'll add my return. I'm going to go ahead and scroll back over since that line got a little long. And I'll add return. And then inside my return, I'll start with a div tag. I'll add a row. I'll add a column. And inside that column, I'll add an image tag. So the format is going to be an image on the left side and then some of the details right next to it. So the format is going to be, we're going to have a row with one column in it, and then we're going to show the image of the vehicle that you selected. Then below that, we'll have a little bit more information about it, and then below that, we'll have the vehicle description. So for the image, I'm going to use that class that we created. I'll say class name equals, and I'll set it equal to detail image. The source is going to come right off our data, so I'll say src equals selected vehicle data dot thumbnail. That handles our image.